Good afternoon. This is Burke Franklin broadcasting from Santa Barbara on my Thursday afternoon Q&A, FAQ, Ask Me Anything dealio here for you to address your questions, help you understand our products. So you've been using our Biz Plan Builder, Marketing Builder, Employee Manual Builder, Agreement Builder, all these different templates that we have at businesspowertools.com to help you, build a better business. And so some of the things I think of, well, first of all, this is really about your questions and answering your questions. So if you've got them, let me know. And I don't know who else on here, but if you've got a question, just click the little chat box at the bottom of the window on the Zoom thing here, and you can ask your questions. If you've got a comment, curious about something in one of the products you're using, you're working on your business plan, you may be stuck. You're wondering what to do, or we're looking for some ideas. I'm happy to help you with that. It could be your employee manual, your marketing plan, your marketing strategy, something you're doing in a deal, something you're working with an employee, all kinds of stuff. Got lots of ideas. I've been in this business about 27 years and been doing business and just involved in business, well, more than 40 years actually. So a lot of ideas, learned a lot. I took a lot of these personal development workshops, if you will. I want to say, consciousness stuff starting some 37 years ago. And what I discovered about all of that, different people call it different things. It's called transformation, where you really look at something in your past, you look at your life and say, okay, why have I always done it this way? I've talked in several of my episodes here the last couple of weeks about how you can change a pattern, break a pattern. So I won't get into that here because I've already talked probably enough about that, but I suppose there's always more to talk about patterns. I'm blown away at how many things I thought of as a kid that are solutions to things that I want to keep doing that don't work. And Alvin Toffler, the author of Future Shock, who recently passed away, but he said, to thrive in today's world, you need to be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we do a lot of learning. We don't do a whole lot of unlearning because we want to stick with the thing we learned and then just go from there. So some of this has to do with things I've learned and unlearned, relearned, and that's ongoing. So that's just one of those things I think to deal with. And I know author, I want to say Greg Peck, anyway, Scott Peck, in his book, The Road Less Traveled, the very first words he says in the book are, life is difficult. And that's one of those things I've always wrestled with, is like, wait, I want it to be simple. I want it to be easy. I want my life to be nice and good and all that, which is what we're all working for. And of course, in our Constitution, it says we have the right to the pursuit of happiness. And so it doesn't say anything about catching it, but it does say we have the right to pursue it. So there's that. So a lot of this, and a lot of entrepreneurship and building businesses, we have a reason. We see a problem in the world. We see people in pain. We see people wanting something. We build a business to go about helping them, helping fix a problem, right some wrong, make something fun to play with. I think of one of my favorite examples has always been a Hobie cat. I picture people, in the background, like in the background of this video, be people sailing by in their Hobie cat. I think, yeah, I want to make something fun like that. And in the process of doing all this, I started helping people with business plans because I saw, it was one of the things, a friend of mine wanted to sell his software to Apple way back when. And I helped him write a business plan that got that done. Apple wanted to be sure that he stayed in business, so they wanted to see his plan. Business planning wasn't my idea of a Hobie cat, really. But along the way, I discovered that lots of people have ideas for businesses, but they really don't have the commercial sense of how to make this thing into a business, let alone how to make that appeal to someone who would give them the money to finance building this business. And that's really how my business started some 27 years ago with Biz Plan Builder, where I had taken all of this content. I'd help people in different areas, help people build their business plans that appeal to investors. And I thought, why not just make this into a template that you can do this yourself? Because really, when the smoke clears and the dust settles, you're the one who really, A, has to live with the business, B, you're building the business the way you want to build the business. You're creating a product or service the way you think it needs to be done. Sure, we listen to our customers, but at the same time, our customers often don't know what they want or need. And I remember I would belong to an organization called Tech. It's now called, oh shoot, I'll think of it. Anyway, it was a group of, it's like a mastermind of CEOs that would meet once a month. And it was my turn to present. I said, hey guys, so what do you want in a business plan? What do you want in these things? And they all looked at me, and these are guys running, anywhere from a $3 to $50 million business with anywhere from 10 to 100 employees. We're all running real businesses. And they said, Burke, this is why we buy your product. This is why we listen to you, is you tell us what should be in the business plan. And it really was an enlightening moment for me to realize, oh, okay, so I do talk to customers. I love input. I accept input. I take it in. At the same time, I also realized that maybe you don't know, what you need. You don't know because you don't know what you don't know. But at the same time, you don't write business plans every day. You don't write employee policy manuals every day. You need this stuff in place, but at the same time, it's got to be customized for your business, to your style, to your vision, to your own values, your values and practices. So that's why, of course, everything is editable. So anyway, just thinking about some of all these things, I wanted to enable you, empower you to do what you wanted to do and build your business. And if you're a consultant, same thing. You've got the tools you can use to help your clients. And so I think about a number of different ideas along the way in this. And one of the things I wrote a blog on this week. It had to do with accepting a recommendation. It's kind of off the subject here a little bit, but the idea is simply, I was in I'm in a weekly, coffee. It's Connect Santa Barbara group here in Santa Barbara, and we meet for coffee and pitching ourselves to each other. But it's really not pitching ourselves to each other. It's educating each other as to our businesses, our services, our capabilities, what we do, what we're about. So when they are out in the world out there, they might run into somebody who's saying, I've got this great idea for a business. I really need some financing. Hopefully my contact in this group would say, I know this guy. He's got businesspowertools.com. His name is Burke Franklin. He's got this really great business plan software you could use to help you raise money. And so my people are out referring. And I think one of the mistakes that people make in a networking group is that we think we're there to sell the networking group our product or service. And while that's nice if somebody in the networking group does buy your product or service, the bigger picture, the more important point, I believe, is to educate them on how to recognize someone that would be a good referral for you, and how to explain your product or service to them in such a way that they take that recommendation and run with it and contact you. So that's really, I think, what it's about. Many people, I do think, make the mistake they're pitching their product to the group versus pitching how to sell their product to somebody else. And that's a key ingredient. So I wrote in the blog about, because I made some suggestions to somebody. And they said, oh yeah, there's lots of those out there. That's like an iPhone app. There's an app for that. There's lots of those. As if to say what I suggested to them really didn't matter in the moment. And that, yeah, your agreement, yeah, your idea, that's okay, but there's lots of those ideas. We really don't need your idea. And what it was about actually was a component, it was a plugin for a WordPress site. I use WordPress. I use lots of plugins. I researched the plugins. I picked a plugin that I was using for my expert referral network, because I want to have consultants who've used our product, make them available to our customers, because I figure our customers need all the help you can get. Why not have somebody who already knows how to use the product work with you? It's like if you buy a Mercedes, best place to take it would be a Mercedes mechanic. Maybe at the dealership or an independent mechanic. But anyway, nevertheless, the idea is if you take them there versus Joe's General Auto Repair, it's not quite the same. You want a specialist. So I want to grab and find all these specialists, especially people who've used our product, who can then help our customers. So I found a plugin that I could put in our WordPress site that would, be a great place to showcase the consultants. And I thought, well, hey, with this in our meetup group, we should have a plugin like that to be a good directory to put all the members of the meetup group in, so we could say, hey, join my meetup, see the people. Or if, say, I wanted to go find the mortgage guy, for example, or the dentist or someone like that in there, I could either grab their business card, but say I didn't have that handy, I could log into the meetups website, click on this directory, find the person, get their contact information, and do what I needed to do. So this thing would be good. So I recommended this plugin, and it's on my website. If you go to businesspowertools.com under the support column to advisors, you'll see what it looks like. Anyway, but yeah, I was kind of miffed. Like, what do you mean? I just made your recommendation. I'm not just pulling this out of the air. I'm not just coming up with some good idea out of nowhere, And so I wanted to say something about taking recommendations, and really, I think, and it's bigger than this. As I started thinking about it, so here we are educating people to go out and make a recommendation on our behalf. And so who better to really be a person who takes a recommendation, because after all, we are in the business of giving them, that we should be good at accepting recommendations too. Now, okay, so people make recommendations to me all the time. And sometimes, often, I don't know, half the time, I already know that. I maybe have a better idea. I already think I'm doing this thing, but someone gives me a recommendation. I at least give them the courtesy of hearing them complete their recommendation. Some people will just interrupt you before you're even done speaking, which is tragic because you really rip yourself off of really hearing what they're going to say, rather than assuming what you think they're going to say and interrupting them before they finish their sentence. Let them finish it. And my recommendation is let that period dry at the end of their sentence, and then say, that's an interesting idea. Can you give me an example? Like in my case, like which one are you using? If I remember this sometime today, you can email me. I'll tell you what it is. I'm not holding out. I just don't remember the actual name of it, but it is a WordPress directory. Okay, I don't remember it. Anyway, so the point is, so tell me more. What does it look like? Are you using it yourself? Can I see it on your website? Of course you can. I can tell you, businesspowertools.com, support, business advisor directory. You'll see it. So, it's all there. And I didn't just haul off and grab the first one, because, yeah, there are a lot of them, and they are kind of like apps for that. But here was one that I found was particularly good. And so this person's response to me on my recommendation kind of irked me that, anyway, it just did. And so what I realized is, how can we be people who make recommendations if we ourselves are not good at accepting recommendations? And so if you want to, like Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world, if we're out recommending stuff, we need to be recommendable ourselves. And that was, I think, one of the points I wanted to make, especially in a group training people to recommend your product. And so that's one point. Now, the second part of this, if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur or an advisor to entrepreneurs and business owners looking to raise capital, more often what you're looking for, the kind of investor you're looking for, is a person we would refer to as smart money. Smart money is a person who not only can write you a check, but they can also teach you some stuff. They can guide you around potholes, things you can step in. They can introduce you to people. They can open doors. They can do all kinds of things. They're going to make recommendations. They're going to ask questions. They're going to make suggestions. Now, if you're pitching this person for money and they make a suggestion to you or offer a recommendation, and you interrupt them, you don't let them finish their recommendation, or you blow off their recommendation like, oh yeah, I already know that. We've already done all that. Yeah, that doesn't matter to us. Do you think this person is going to be willing to write you a check, or are they going to put their checkbook back in their pocket? Me, I'd put my checkbook back in the pocket, because one of the things you're looking for if I was investing in your business would be me helping you open doors, meet people, step around potholes, not make mistakes that I've either made myself or seen other people make. And so you want to hear what those are, and you want that person to, maybe it's just even the perception of it. It's just you want to be courteous to let them make the recommendation, ask some questions about it, and say, it's interesting. We've been thinking about that. Here's the idea I had or we had. What do you think about that? And have a conversation about it. Now the investor thinks, okay, you're open, good, you're coachable, because an uncoachable entrepreneur is not someone investors are going to invest their money in. Now, there's a fine line between exhibiting confidence in what you're doing, which is great, and then being arrogant and not being open to being coachable by the investor, because these investors do want to coach you, because that's one of the ways they see themselves earning the return on investment. besides giving you the money to run with it, if they can help you, like if I could open the door to a distributor for you, that they would suddenly just place orders for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of your product, that'd be golden. And to blow off my recommendation would be tragic. So that's not to say I have all the answers. I have a lot, but I mean, anyway. So, but in the flip side of this too is if there are smart money, if you listen to what they say and engage them in a conversation about their recommendations, you're going to determine how smart the money really is. They could offer you some really asinine ideas. You think, okay, this person makes no sense. This person doesn't get my business. This person, like in the Starbucks book, Howard Schultz talks about, we want all our people at Starbucks to have a passion for coffee and the coffee experience. So in your questioning and listening to this investor make recommendations and suggestions and asking questions, you're going to find out that they have a passion for your business name here or industry here and your industry business name experience here, kind of a thing. Do they know what they're talking about? Could they really make a contribution to what you're doing? You may find that, wow, this guy could or person could make all kinds of contribution, or this person, I won't take a phone call from them at 2 a.m. with some great idea. So the whole recommendation thing turned out to be much bigger than me being miffed that my idea wasn't happily accepted. Like, oh, Burke, you're so smart. Thanks for that idea. We love you, man, which is what my ego really wants to hear. But more importantly, I wanted to, help the group with a good directory suggestion. And by writing this and talking about it, help you really become a person who's heard and whose recommendations are listened to and used. So I will leave that at that. So anyway, I like to talk to you. I give this anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. If you've got questions, please, if you just put it into the text box here. If there's a chat box, there's a Q&A box. There's, I guess that's really about it. Q&A box, check box. That pretty much does it. Anyway, so what else? If you've got a question, please ask it, even if it's some weird business thing like, do I like your business idea? It's not going to. I'm not going to tell you your baby's ugly. I mean, some people are so worried about what people think of their idea, and sometimes the ideas are great, or they're good for certain things, or maybe there's another way you could apply your idea, some other place it would be useful. So I'm always happy to talk about that kind of thing. Even talking about how you might present to investors. Now, what I know, there's a guy named Oren Klaff, who's really, I think, the master in presenting to investors. It's Klaff, and he's got a book called Pitch Anything, and he talks about it. He's really good, I think, at talking to you about how to pitch things. So I would leave that or defer to him as the expert on that whole thing. I can help you have your act together because I find that what happens in investor presentations, probably a slide or two into your pitch, you're going to have an investor is going to ask you a question and say, so what about this? And if you haven't thought about it, you're in trouble. And so I hopefully in our process of taking you through the Biz Plan Builder business planning system that we've covered all the bases. I mean, we've been doing this for 27 years, and I've heard a lot of investor questions along the way. And so we build a lot of those answers in there that you can choose from, really to educate you. So when you get this golden opportunity to be in front of a room full of people who could write a check to fund your company, you do the best you possibly can, and you're someone that they want to invest in because they get a foot-high pile of business plans every day, at least most venture capital firms do. And so you've got to somehow be the one at the top of the heap. So, okay, so anybody got another question here about that? I wanted to get into the thing about recommendations because it was hot in my mind, And so one of the things about them, let me just go on further, but kind of the background of that bit. So, and I also was reading a number of blogs this week, or I just see these headlines go by, and it's like, what's the best way to pitch my product? What's the best technique? What's the best opening line? How do I do this? What do I say? And what I want to say about that is it's not so much what you say, even how you say it. It's really where you're coming from as you say it or how you do it. And so I found way back when in my career, I was working for Texas Instruments, and my job was to go out and drive around in Orange County, California. I would drive around looking for companies that could buy electronic components. And so I would be driving up the road and I'd see this building over there. Like, there's a building. And I remember, pulling up to this building thinking I should make a cold call. I should just drop in and see these guys. This was the days of cold calls. You couldn't look them up on the web first and learn all about them and then drop them an email. This is, you had to actually go see them. And so I remember driving around this building probably 4 or 5 times, maybe even 6 times, thinking, I don't know why I didn't just pull over, but anyway, I just drove around the building because I was so worried about what was I going to say? How was I going to say it? What would be the exact words to use? What would be the perfect pitch to walk in and say the thing, And I finally realized, just walk in. So I just pulled my car up into the visitor parking space in front, walked in the front door and said, "Hi, my name is Burke Franklin. I work with Texas Instruments. We sell electronic components. What do you guys do?" Was that profound? Was that slick? Was it smooth? Was it polished? No, but it was just, I was curious. This is what I do, and how do we find this out, And so I think it was refreshing for the receptionist that someone didn't come in and say, "Hey, if I could sell you this today, would you be interested in buying it? Or can I speak to your CEO about this really good deal?" No, it wasn't this lounge lizard act that needed to be perfected. I just walked in and said who I was. Here's what I do. What do you guys do? Well, to put me out of my misery in that first instance, they said, "Well, we make tires." And you don't need anything electronic that I sell, because the electronics we were selling were parts that would go in somebody's box that would be, they would sell zillions of them, and our parts would be in that box, and we would provide zillions of parts for your electronic box you'd sell. So that was a loser, but check that one off. Okay, I know what they did in that building, and they didn't use electronic components. I suppose today you can say, well, do you make wireless valves that check the pressure that could read out on your dashboard? That's a different subject, but that'd be today, but not then. Anyway, so when I did, so later on, that became my MO. I just walked in and said, "Hi, my name is Burke. I'm with Texas Instruments. Come on, that packed a wallop of credibility and everything else you need. I didn't need to explain that. And so, but I did walk into a number of companies, and I remember one, I said the same glorious pitch, and she says, "Hold it a second. Hey, Bob, we got a TI guy out here. You need some help?" And the guy comes running out to the front and goes, "Yeah, I'm an electrical engineer. I need this, I need that. Come on back, let's talk." And so goldmine, I found a customer that way, but it was just that simple. But the point is where I'm coming from isn't about how, it isn't about all that. It's about walking in, being genuinely interested. I can help you. Do you need my kind of help? And so where I was coming from and helping them was, well, for lack of a better term, just clean. And so I think to answer the people who are wondering how to pitch their product, what to say, how to say it, how to get it exactly right, worry less about that than about why you're in front of the customer, who the person is you can help. Can you find more of those people? Can you come in the door and genuinely be there to help them? Now, I've found things, and I wrote a book, by the way, called Business Black Belt, which combines, I started karate training the same time I started Business Power Tools. It was called Gion at the time. And I've since changed the name to Business Power Tools, but nevertheless, so I started karate training at the same time I started the software company. And I noticed that how I behaved in the ring, so to speak, you got to be in there. If you're going to, block and defend and all that stuff, you have to be fully present, heart, mind, body, spirit, everything there, or you're going to get clocked. And so I figured, I wonder if my behavior in karate class is like my behavior in business. And I could see that there's places where it was. And so that's what prompted the book, because I wanted to take all the things I learned in consciousness awareness workshops and see how that applied in business. And then where it did and how it did and how I had to tweak it is what I talk about in there. But I was thinking about a place where, talking about where I'm coming from and all that kind of stuff, and what I'm doing in the business is, get my thought back here. I get several ideas all at once, and I go down a rabbit hole and I forget what I'm doing. But anyway, if you have a question about that, please type it. I'm love to hear it. Anyway, so I think what I was saying, and where I was coming from with helping the people, in some circles that's called your ground of being, like what's behind, what you're doing. Why are you doing this? How I was, I wanted to help companies because I saw people with some really great ideas for things, some really great business concepts, some inventions. And I thought, well, this really should be used in the world. This should be great to see it in the world. But your plan and what you're telling investors is killing you. It's not going to work. And so I really wanted to help these people get these products out, which is what I still love to do and what I'm all about. And so I was writing in my book about this and how this kind of thing works. And so God, there's just some part of this I really wanted to get to. This is embarrassing. I wanted to say what it was, because I think it was a good idea. Anyway, it'll come back to me in a moment. So anyway, yeah, my oh, I know what it was. When I started the business, I was going to tell you this. When I started the business, I would run these classified ads. And I had about 30 different classified ads running in Inc. magazine and Success magazine and airline magazines and magazines that are extinct these days. But nevertheless, there's a whole bunch, little like a 1-inch, 1-column, 1-inch ad, and it would say business plan on diskette. And I was it was just 3 lines: business plan on diskette, something like with an Amex, MC, Visa, $69 at the time, and it was write your business plan, something like that. And people would call me up from the East Coast at and to them it's 8 in the morning. To me it's 5 in the morning, and I'd wake up out of a dead sleep, and I would answer their questions. They'd say, "Well, tell me about this business plan." I'd start to tell them about it. I kind of stumble through it, and then they would say, "Oh, that makes sense. What did you just I think, what did I just say?" And I'd write that down. And then we'd talk some more about it, and I would say, they go, "Oh, you mean like this?" And they go, "Yeah." And I'd write that down. And then pretty soon I had a pretty tight script of things I'd written down that had just made sense to people that I'd answered over the phone. So I made myself a phone script that I put on top of my order forms on a clipboard next to my bed. So when I got woken up in the morning like that, I could just read my script, and then they would say, yeah, and they would buy from me. And so the thought was, going back to my original pitch there at Texas Instruments, in talking to your customers about your product, when you find yourself saying something, all of a sudden you go, "Oh yeah," write that down, and you can make yourself a script that can be very quick for you to be able to sell your product to somebody, and just step through the process of, this is where we need to introduce the idea, understand their problem, explain how this thing works. I'm afflicted with the idea that I'm not going to buy something. I don't believe something works until I know how it works. That's part of my engineer bit in the background, but most people apparently don't need to know how it works to believe that it works. Like, transmission, D, got it, goes forward. I don't care. I don't even know how that works, but nevertheless, it does. So I was going to morph into talking about explaining your product or service in your business plan as one of the things to talk about in the ongoing series here, and about what to say about your business plan. And by the way, if you're using Biz Plan Builder from us, you can go to Business Power Tools, and under the support menu again, there's a different one that's got tutorial videos, and there's me talking about every section of the business plan about so you open up the management team, click the little video icon, and I come on and say, okay, look, here's what you got to do. It's like I'm not this close to you in the camera, but I'm sitting there talking about, as if I was a movie director and you're the actor in the scene. Here's how to play this scene, because the audience who's listening to you is an investor, and what investors are looking for in terms of the management teams are looking for the jockey. They bet on the jockey more than the horse. In the part about the product description, sure, you can talk about how it works and all that. But really and here's the mistake most entrepreneurs make that I will steer you around right now, is that you don't want to sell them the product. Or should I put it this way? Investors aren't really interested in buying your product. They want to invest in your company. So the difference there is, and that's not to say don't explain the product. I mean, yeah, explain the product, but don't beat it to death. I had a business plan from somebody, I swear it was like that thick. It's like a ream of paper. And it all turned out to be a little machine that crushed cans. That's it. Do I really need that much engineering spec about crushing cans if I was going to invest in somebody who was, making a beer can recycling thing? So no. So really, you can talk briefly about how it works, but again, it's like but to use the can metaphor, there's a difference between a Coke machine and a can of Coke. And so most people make the mistake because we get excited about our product. We want to sell our product. And we're selling, here, have a Coke, try a Coke. Cokes are great. You should get a Coke, Versus Coke's good. People love Coke. We got a lot of people who like Coke. Here's what I'm selling. Here's what you want to invest in is this machine. I got a machine here that I can fill with Coke. I can put it on a street corner. I can put it in a gas station. I can put it in wherever, all over the place. And people will buy Cokes and it makes a bunch of money. So just keep that metaphor in mind. Minimal discussion about your product, maximum discussion about how the business of selling your product works. So there's a whole lot about that. We go into this here, we go into it in the business plan, even in the videos, where it's a sequence of, there's a problem in the world. How many people have it? What's your solution? Why are people going to buy it? All that kind of stuff. There's a whole list of questions you could go through, but it's a logical presentation. So, but to keep you on track, to help you build your business and have your business be something that's not something you'll do on the side or something you can do someday, or, well, I work this day job that you can't stand, and then at night you work on your real the business you'd really like to do. How can you leave the day job and make this business your dream business, something you can really afford to do and thrive at doing and not have to take a second job? And how can you make this business be something that you can live on and grow through, and someday when the smoke clears and the dust settles, you sell it and live happily ever after. I mean, it's kind of the fundamental simplistic version of the dream. And so along the way, part of my sort of specialty, if you will, is looking at your business and teaching you things about business, but at the same time, your business is like a special spiritual, if you will, mental dojo. Dojo is the Japanese word for the place where one goes and trains in karate or judo or whatever. It's a dojo. In Korean, it's a dojang, same difference. But that's what it is. So your business is like your dojo for a lot of things. And so what I talk about in Business Black Belt are a lot of those things where what I learned using my own business as a dojo and actually going to a dojo and kind of blending those things together where you get the best of, business things, the awareness and consciousness blended together with the mindset of a karate master, helping you, use your body, being flexible, being strong, moving a little bit. You don't have to move a lot. You can just move a little bit and conserve your energy. And how can you, be that person and be effective that way? And so that's where all that goes. Anyway, so I love talking about this stuff. I'd like to answer your questions if you've got some more. And, got people on here, but I love putting on my little show, but I really want to help you. So if you've got a question, please ask it. Please just type it in the box. Oh, there's a Q&A box. Keep my Q&A box open. Good, great point. Love it. Thank you. Ask a question. How do I address great points? Go, yes, I feel good. So I think there's some other things. I have so many things I could talk about. One of the things I'm going to talk about, I'm speaking at the California Women's Conference next week. That's May 10th and 11th in Long Beach. Look that up, California Women's Conference, or send me an email, burke@businesspowertools.com, and I'll forward you the link and stuff about that. One of the things I want to talk about, it's a thing I'm working on. It's not fully together yet, but here's the preview. Maybe you can ask some questions or throw some ideas at me, which I appreciate, is the idea of the words we use and how our words in our conversations, especially when you're talking in a sales presentation or an investor presentation, of course, anywhere in life, when we think about the words you use and the pictures they create or the experiences they invoke in people, the emotions they invoke with people, and our culture is full of double negatives. So for example, things like, don't forget your car keys. What have I just told you to do? I've introduced the concept of forget. I think there's a world of difference between don't forget your car keys versus remember your car keys. Remember to call so-and-so. Remember to pick up milk on the way home. Remember to do this. We often say, most people seem to say, don't forget to pick up milk. Don't forget your car keys. Don't forget to call so-and-so. In our mind, we're programming our mind. We talk to ourselves in these double negatives. And so my favorite along the way is go for broke. What is that saying? You know, I can see betting the farm. I can see invest everything. I can see investing your life savings in something, but that's all with an intention of a positive outcome. Go for broke tells me that's not exactly the positive outcome I'm looking for. So you want to be careful what you introduce in the conversation with people with a double negative comment. So don't whatever introduces whatever into the conversation. So there's exceptions. You could use it, reverse. Like for example, if you do if you eat the way a sumo wrestler eats, you're going to become huge. If you don't eat what a sumo, I would say that doesn't work. You want to do the opposite of what a sumo wrestler does. Like they eat a lot of carbs, like have a bunch of spaghetti and pasta, and then go sleep. You want to gain weight? That's how to do it fast. So anyway, it's a practice. It's one of those things where I hear the double negatives everywhere in everybody's conversation, and I'm amazed. And just it's in a way, makes complete sense as to why many people's lives are the way they are, because when you listen to the language that you talk to yourself with first, and then the language we put out in the space between us, is crazy, And I was watching. I have so many of these ideas. I've got them all written down. But once I write something down, I seem to, I don't know, either I don't remember it, but even saying I don't remember, it's like, okay, I've introduced the idea of remember. It's better than don't forget, right? So that's just think about the images that you drop into the place between you and somebody else when you're talking. That forwarding the conversation to where you want it to go? Is it forwarding to making the investor comfortable with writing you a check, or are you spooking them, which is not what you want to do, right? Are you forwarding your sales presentation to where the customer is comfortable with what you want? I find that saying, hey, we offer a money back guarantee, really, on one hand, that is so used so much, but really a money back, why are we introducing the idea of a money back guarantee? Well, sure, it makes me as a customer feel like, okay, I'm not going to lose my money. That's great. But there's got to be a better way of saying that. I'm curious for a better way of how to word a guarantee in a way where it's a positive thinking where the customer thinks, yeah, buy this thing. And, I think one of them I was playing with was something like, we'll credit your credit card, something like that, where there's credit card. And so that's all positive. There's all positive emotions in thinking about credit and credit card as you buy my product. So that's, I think, a better way of saying money back guarantee. So it's a whole litany of things that I'm putting together that, I heard one in a movie the other day. It was like, she says the guy's riding off on his horse with his sword, and she says, I don't want to lose you. And I thought, oh, note to self, I don't want to lose you. What did she just say? Want to lose you. And versus saying, I love you, I want to live forever with you, would be a better way of being more positive about, yes, live, return, come back to me, kind of a thing. Versus this movie and drama and all that kind of stuff. I think I've made my point, but I've got a slideshow put together with lots of different ideas around this. And I pictured being a TED Talk, really. And you have a number of examples of words to use and how we can say it more positively, like that. Anyway, I'll get that. I'll put it together, and I will do it here someday. The idea is a TED Talk, so it's only about 18 minutes. So I'll make the point quickly, so you will get it and have something to learn something. But listen to yourself. Listen to yourself as you talk to yourself about things, and consider the picture you're creating, the commands to the universe. If God was coming to your table to take your order, what are you asking for? And because it's a thing, sure, you can have that, but look at the things we've been asking for. In fact, I was in a workshop one time, and it was about intention and creating an intention. And this was the follow-up workshop, or workshop after we had taken an intention workshop a year before. And there's a woman sitting there, and she says, well, I didn't get what I want. All right, what did you want? She said, well, I wanted to be married to a rich guy, a rich man. And the guy I'm married to isn't, he's broke. And she was upset. The guy's sitting there like, and he was, I guess, between jobs and feeling kind of bad. But then, he was wearing a name tag. This is where it gets funny. So the leader of the workshop said, so what's the name of your husband? Rich. You married a rich guy. He's rich. So the intention that she had, she actually achieved her intention. She just didn't quite state the intention the way I think she really, really meant it. But it was delivered. The universe delivered Rich. And so there he was. And it was an ironic moment. And it was funny, but it also speaks to what we speak to, what we put out in the universe, what we want. We're programming the computer by what we're saying, and then we're broadcasting what we want out there. And then then when you get what you get, I was about to say, don't be surprised. It's just so easy to fall into that. But you'll see what you're getting, and you listen to other people speak, and you look at their life, you can see, wow, you're getting exactly what you're talking about. And that's been a huge revelation. And this is where we've gone through all of our products and looking to remove the double negatives, to keep it positive, keep the action going, make sure the images, the pictures, the emotions that anybody reading, whether it's an employment agreement, an employee policy manual, the business plan presentation, all this stuff. And I want to say all these things to you because I want you to use our product, but use it as it's intended, and keep the action forward in the direction you want it to go. And I was going to say not put back in the double negatives, but that's the idea. Leave the double negatives out and keep all the positive wording in there. So happy to keep on talking forever. It's probably what I would do, but we don't have all day for you. And so it's 45 minutes. So that's kind of the place where I leave it. This is recorded. You come back and listen to it again if you like. Tell your friends, tell them to come to businesspowertools.com, or forward them the link that you get in the mail. The system I'm using is zoom.com, which is kind of cool. It sends out a little email you're getting, and you got one yesterday. You got one an hour before this started. And it also is a reminder of my email address. If you want to send me an email at Burke, B-U-R-K-E, at businesspowertools.com with a question, I can certainly address that, and I'm happy to do it. And, here's a question, a last-minute question. Can you speak to the issue of time management and how it affects our daily outcome in business? Wow. Time management. I think it's not so much, but I can give you a different perspective. How about that? Because you really can't manage time. Time just goes on. I look at my watch, the thing doesn't stop. It just keeps spinning. What you can manage is priorities. And that's really, I think, the big distinction. I use a checklist. I could show it to you here. I'll see if I can. It's my handy dandy. It might show up backwards on this thing, but I'll see if I can show it to you. I don't know if that shows up well or not. Oh no, it's green. My green screen background's green, so you won't see it. Looks invisible. Sorry. But what it does, it's a list. It's just basically you could take a piece of paper and draw a couple of columns down the side and just write down everything that comes to mind. Just all the stuff. It's unprioritized. It's just stuff, And my theory, this is going to sound wild and crazy. Don't hang up yet. Stay on, I should say. It's such a habit. It's just so ingrained in our world. Don't hang up. Stay with me. So stay with me a second. So what I did is a friend of mine, I've had a cold. And a cold, this is the psychoneuroimmunology part talking, but you have a cold, what is it? It's congestion, sore throat, headache. Headaches are resistance. Congestion is too much to do. Sore throat is, I can't swallow anything more, or it pains me to talk about it, so I'm not going to ask for help. I'm just going to suffer. So if you take everything you had to do and write it down on a piece of paper, so you had your to-do list, when I've felt sick and I've written that down, I've congested, I write the stuff down, I get it out of my head. It is out of my head and onto a piece of paper. And now I can either ask for help, and the resistance is the headache. So I have it on the piece of paper, it's out of my head. So resisting it's not there. The congestion is cleared. anyway, that's kind of a long shot there if you believe that. But nevertheless, I think it's true. I've proven it. I've had friends try it and it's worked for them. But really, back to your question about managing your time and priorities. So you list everything you got to do. And then in the columns next to it, I have an A, B, and a C column. And A is an A priority. So then I go back to the list and I go through every single line item. Is this an A, B, or a C? Or you could have D for delegate. But nevertheless, then I put a slash next to it. Boom, boom, boom. And we even have one of these. You email me, I could send you. I made an Excel spreadsheet, of course, where it has the lines, it has the columns, and you put a slash on next to the A's, and a slash next to the B, and a slash next to the C. And when you complete it, you put another slash to make it into an X. This is pretty low tech, but I've tried the high tech things, and it turns out it's the low tech thing in this case that just works. So I make myself a form. I printed it out on a green sheet of paper so I can find it on my desk as, where's my to-do list? Oh, it's the green thing because nothing else is green. And so I can look down the list of all the A priorities and say, okay, what do I got to do? And I do the A ones first and the B ones next. And I can tell when I'm avoiding the A priority because I'm working on a B priority. I think, why am I doing that? Well, it's easy. I can do it, You asked. This is a way to manage priorities, but at least if you're working on a B priority, you're conscious that it's not an A priority. However, there's A priorities on your list. And so I find that's a really easy way of getting a lot of things out of your head. It can be personal things, it can be business things. It's everything that occupies your mind. And so you write them all down and then prioritize them and then go back through it. You probably want to rewrite the entire list every week, every couple of weeks. It's looking like kind of a ratty piece of paper, but the process definitely works. It's super easy to do. It's low tech and all that. So I was about to say painless, and that's another way of saying, painless. We've introduced pain. You just see how it's just all in our world. And so, in fact, I should make a note about painless. I'm going to write that down, put it in my presentation. There's a whole bunch of things like that are crazy making. So again, crazy making even. It's like, we just introduce all this self stuff, things into our world as we speak and speak to ourselves and others. And so that's what I want to, it's a practice. And practice is doing something where you, in fact, my guitar teacher said, instead of thinking it as practice, think of it as playing your guitar. Go play your guitar. And sure, I'm going to be doing things over and over again, but practice is doing something, again, you recognize you didn't do it right, but then also acknowledging when you do get it right and learning from that success and practicing and doing it more. And so practicing is an opportunity to get better at what you're doing. So you could look at it as, instead of saying, I'm going to go practice, I'm going to go get better at this. I'm going to work on getting better at this thing. I'm going to work on getting better at these presentations. I'm going to work on getting better at all that kind of stuff. And so there's another way of looking at the word practice as getting better. So any other last minute questions? They always come in at the last second. It's like, one more. Okay, well, I will turn you guys loose. Thanks for coming. Every Thursday, 1 o'clock Pacific time, Burke Franklin, businesspowertools.com. Email me. I'm here. I'd love to do this stuff, answer your questions, and talk to you. And this recording is online. You get a link to it. You click, it'll land you on a page that lists all of the previous ones. You can watch them, and they're getting better. Thanks. Talk to you next week.